Hey guys, Fives here with a face shave. Today will be a side-by-side comparison. We'll also talk about a soap that I just received from Sterling Soap Company named Carmichael. We'll start with the soap since I'll be talking about the razors that I'm comparing throughout the shave. Carmichael is a very beautiful cologne inspired scent. It is a limited release and Sterling is running out of them on their own website. So I will link below where I can find them. Pasteurs might still have some other websites. Maybe the Razor Company has some. But I will link as much as I can find on their website or on the different websites. I got this on their sale because it's in a 3-ounce variety. It was a seasonal, so they only, they usually do them in their smaller varieties for a limited release. The scent notes are green tea, bergamot, sandalwood, leather, vanilla, powder forward, is what the description says. I don't get a lot of powdery, but it is a little bit powdery, I guess, but I don't get it a lot. It just rounds things out, and it is inspired by Bulgari Black. So I've never heard of that, but if it smells like this, then it smells awesome. I definitely get some of the bergamot, sandalwood, leather, vanilla, and some green tea. My wife really loves this scent. So today's comparison will be the two carbons that I've got. One will be the original plate on my left face, and this is the 2020 version of the base plate. It says 2020 on there. 316L stainless steel, machine in US. And the other one is the plus plate with the web design base plate, stainless steel as well. And they both got a brand new Rapira Super Stainless. So we'll start on the right side of my face like I normally do, and that'll have the plus plate. So this side by side is as much for me as it is for you guys. I know a lot of people are wondering how they compare, how the different base plates compare. And unfortunately, I only have these two base plates and don't really have the money to buy all of them since they're each 150 bucks. Right off the bat, I can tell you the plus plate is smooth and efficient. It has some blade feel, but not as much as the original base plate. But the original base plate has a smaller blade gap. It's a 0.68 with more blade exposure versus the plus is 1.08. And they're both smooth. Like, honestly, I wouldn't be able to say one was more smooth than the other. Even though the original has a little bit more blade feel to it, which I prefer. But again, if you don't prefer blade feel, you might prefer the plus or the plus plate. Very nice lather here with Sterling. I've got it lathered up with the PAA Solar Flare, by the way. Very nice cashmere type soft knot. I've done a few shaves with the Carbon Plus now, both on my head and on my face. And it's smooth. The only issues I think I have with it are the blade gap is large, which is generally fine. But when you add that with a positive blade exposure, for me, it makes it hard to find the right angle against the grain. And also, if you've got any bumps, you're going to cut those bumps off. Versus with the original, with a smaller blade gap, you might be able to get away traversing over some bumps. Almost had a bloop there from the leather. Like, I've got a bump right there, and I've caught it a couple times the last couple times I've shaved with the plus plate. So we'll see how it does with the original. There are 2 bumps to watch for me. One right here right now, and one right here on my neck. So I've got a chance for both razors to catch one. And this has blade feel, but to me it's not menacing. It's not anywhere near what the Sterling ST razor is like, or even the Rex Ambassador. And the Rex Ambassador, I would probably compare this to like a setting 3, maybe 3.5. Alright, so that was the original on the left side. And there's definitely less blade feel, but my personal issue is I usually use razors that favor a steeper angle where you're riding the guard more. And typically what I find with larger blade gap razors is you need to ride the cap more. So this razor kind of forces you into one angle. Where the original, you can kind of do whatever you want. You can ride the cap, you can ride the guard, and it's still going to be very smooth and efficient. And both of these are efficient. I find the original plate, my shave is closer, and I still get BBS, but the BBSs are different on both of them. So the original one just lasts longer, and it just feels smoother on the face. Like, my face feels smoother, if that makes sense. So I don't know what it is. So far, they're both really, really close and feel really, really good. I'm enjoying both of them. Haven't caught either of the bumps that I mentioned earlier so far, but I'm about to go against a grain, so we shall see. Alright, so we'll go with the plus side first. This time I like to alternate just because on the right side of my face. Yeah, it's smooth. I guess I just prefer more blade exposure with a smaller blade gap. I mean, I'm able to buff on just residuals. So it's smooth and the performance of the soap is really good. So that's not an issue. Versus this one, I don't feel like I have to pay as close attention. Which I don't know if that's a good thing. Because typically for me, if I don't pay super close attention, I tend to get careless. But there's also enough blade feel from the positive exposure to where I am paying attention. I think this original plate is the sweet spot for me. Enough blade feel to where I know what I'm doing. And the blade gap is small enough to where I don't have to be super cautious. And I've used other 0.68 blade gaps before. Like the Timeless. But that has like a neutral or like no blade exposure whatsoever. So I didn't really care for that. There's a spot over here. My hair kind of goes in all different directions. So I will say, I didn't really have to do as much buffing on this side. I mean, I don't have to do any buffing. Like, I'm just doing it just to feel if there's any feedback, and there's not. Oh. Caught a bump. And I haven't gotten anything on this side yet. There's nothing for me to cut on this side. Yeah, so it's interesting. The original plate feels more comfortable, feels a little bit more efficient after the shave, but I didn't have to buff as much with the plus plate. That might just have to do with how many strokes I did on each side. It's hard to compare. I'm not going to count each stroke for each side. So that's kind of hard to say one way or another. But let me rinse off and I'll be back with the post. Alright, and I'm back. After the shave, I rinsed off my face with some warm water, and I put the alum block on. I tried doing cheek first, and then neck and neck to kind of compare them in terms of which one had more stinging. They're actually spot on equal. Like, I couldn't tell one side had more stinging than the other with the alum block. And there was a little bit of stinging, but not a lot. It sealed up that little bump that I had, so nothing major. And then I just cleaned off my equipment, and I'll be throwing on the matching splash. 2-ounce bottle for these limited edition ones. And I ended up getting the EDT just because this is a limited edition scent, and I've never had an EDT by Sterling before. So my fingers are slippery Couldn't get the cap off. This scent is beautiful. It's a nice cologne type scent, which I've been really into lately. My skin feels great on both sides. Honestly, I like both. I really do like both, and my skin feels great with both. I just think the original plate is easier to shave with for me. The angle is a little bit more forgiving. You don't have to focus as much on getting the perfect angle, where I think I do with the Plus Plus. And I like a little bit of the more blade feel that I get with the original. And they're as smooth. They're both super smooth. Like, it's not like one is more smooth than the other. I just find the original plate easier to use generally, if that makes sense. That scent is beautiful. Sterling always knocks it out of the park for me. But this one, just a fantastic scent. I hope one day they make it a staple in their lineup. I'll link everything that I can below. But today, I think the winner, and it was very close. Honestly, it could go both ways, but the winner is going to be the Carbon Original for me. It's just a little bit easier to use, and the large blade gap on the Plus Plus just makes it harder to keep the angle, especially going against the grain. And it's not any more smooth for the less blade feel or the less blade exposure that you get. It's supposed to be more smooth, but for me that's not the case. And it's just a little bit more difficult to keep the angle because of large blade gap. So they're both good, they're both smooth. I prefer the original. Alright, so thank you for watching. I'll link everything down below like I said earlier, and see you next time.